So last time we talked about, or rather, we left off with this idea about how neither materiality nor spirituality is going to set us free, because ultimately they are the same trap on the opposite end of the same spectrum. And we were left with confusion. If materiality is not it, if spirituality is not it, then what else is there? Then what do we do? Which leads us into this idea that there is no method. I think to try to illustrate this, I'm gonna pull up a few examples. Because funny enough, just the past few days I've gotten a few examples that are like directly applicable to this. So one of the examples is that recently I got an email from my school about applying to a scholarship to Oxford, right? So it says, a Rhodes Scholarship to the University of Oxford is a tremendous opportunity. Each summer, my school invites students who are entering their fourth or final year of study and who have a minimum average of 85% based on their most recent coursework to apply to the Rhodes Scholarship. I'm pleased to advise you that you are in this group and may, in capital, may be a candidate for the Rhodes Scholarship to start at the University of Oxford in October 2023, blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. This committee selects only the most outstanding individuals, blah, 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 blah. The Rhodes Scholarship process is very competitive, blah, 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 blah. If you see yourself as a stellar candidate and wish to learn more about the process, please register to attend one of our information sessions. Now this one, it's funny to me because I literally don't give a shit. Like, I could care less. And University of Oxford. But to another student who's deeply trapped in this game that's like, it's like the best opportunity of their life. It's like, oh my god, I get the chance to go to Oxford. Like, oh my god. I guess what I'm trying to say is that as I'm going to university, I just realize how caught up everyone is in seeking this external validation, because it's almost like literally the only reason to go is because it's the University of Oxford. Like, just the name, right? University of Oxford. Say no more. Like, sign me up. And we train kids to grow up thinking that their validation and their worth is based on what school they go to, what grades they get, and then what company they end up working at, and then how much money they make, what their job title is, right? But all this is just fluff. It's meaningless. And this goes back to this idea I talked about in the last video about how, like, even though in this day and age most people explicitly reject religion, essentially, because we have science now, right? But unbeknownst to them, they're following a religion, right? Like this, the university institution itself is a form of religion, because you think about how many kids are forced to go into university or feel like they have to do it, right? It's like a compulsory thing, because like if I don't go to university, then like what am I going to do with my future? It's like this parallel to this the fear of God, where if you don't go to church, if you don't pray, if you don't do all the things that you should do as a good Christian or whatever religion, then you're going to sin, you're going to go to hell. And then the modern equivalent to sinning and going to hell is being a nobody, being unsuccessful, like no good job, no shitty income. So we've substituted spirituality, chasing spiritual reward, into chasing material reward. And a huge part of that, that contributes to that material chasing, I think, is this institutionalized system of like the school system, going to university, and then getting into career, job, whatever, right? Another example I have is again from university. So the other day in class, I'm taking this strength and conditioning class, and we had a guest lecturer come in who was a chiropractor. Let me see if I don't remember exactly the slides. But basically, this chiropractor started going into his like tips for clinical practice and stuff. Basically, the whole part about the communication was this. He gave this acronym called OARS, AORS. So O for open-ended questions, A for affirmations, R for reflections, and S for summarizing, as a sort of method to communicating with clients. And this falls under this motivational interviewing approach. I don't know, when I was listening to him talk, and I was just thinking to myself, this guy's telling us that to use this method as a way to like communicate and to build rapport with people, right? But then I just found that kind of, it's almost like a little phony, because there is no method to having genuine communication and building genuine rapport with someone. You can fake rapport, but there's no formula. When you use a formula, it just makes you it makes you inhuman. Like, you're not a human. Sometimes you go to a doctor or see a professional, not even a doctor in a healthcare field, but just any field in general, right? Or even like a customer service representative, and like they talk to you, right? And immediately most of the time they're just in this robot mode, where it's like you can tell it's a script, right? They're just running a script, and it doesn't feel like you're talking to an actual person. And I think people can tell really easily. I don't know. I think there's just, in the classrooms, in our education, whatever, we teach all of these methods and formulas and specific ways of how we should do something. But I feel like a lot of students, why university cannot compare to actually getting real world experience in the field that you study is because in university all you learn are fucking like abstract methods. And then I see like my classmates all around me, like they're just trying to memorize these methods. Okay, oh, I have to hit this point, and then I have to mention this, and I have to also make sure to hit that. It's like they're trying to memorize a script in their head to apply out. But it doesn't work like that. Like if you've worked any minute in the real world, you know that like what they've taught you in school is like it's so abstract and so disconnected from reality that like it doesn't you can't be going out there and then applying like all the content you learned like verbatim into a real world setting. Um, and so I think the problem with school is that it makes you too rigid. It makes you too rigid to what it means to be intelligent, to be educated, to be successful. What schools do is it makes you mentally stuck into sort of these textbook formulas and methods. And so you never adapt to the situation at hand. You sort of just you try to go back to the rigid content that you learn, you grasp onto it rather than sort of being spontaneous in the moment and adapting to what the situation demands. And on the opposite end, the same goes with religions. The problem with religions is that it makes you too rigid to the idea of God. By clinging on so tightly to this idea of God that you've been told about, you never really understand. You never understand what God is because you're too busy clinging on to the idea of God. And so the central idea, if we can call it a central idea, it's an idealist idea, is to drop your methods because there is no method. Last night, there was this client I was training, personal training. He was talking to me about one of his injuries on his knee. And he went to like a bunch of different professionals. He went to a surgeon, went to I think like 2 physios, different professionals. The surgeon had his method. It's like, oh, we got to do surgery to fix up the knee pain. The physios had their method. I forgot the details, but right, everyone has their modality and method because it's what they learned. But they've become too rigid and stuck in that. It's like tunnel vision. And so he explained to me he had the surgery, and then they found out that wasn't what was causing it. And then the physios did some work on him, but didn't really help. And then guess what? He ended up figuring it out himself. At the end of the day, it was a IT band tightness. And so I'm giving all these examples to illustrate how we grasp on too tightly to methods, to formulas that we think that this formula is all there is. The surgeon thinks that his formula is the way. The physio thinks his formula is the way, right? Not realizing we're stuck in them. We're mentally stuck in them. And so the truly religious man, the man who is free, he gives up all methods, all ideas, all formulas. He drops them. Because if you don't hold on to anything, you have nothing to lose. With that, you're already there. I hope this part of this made sense. It's pretty metaphysical and abstract, but there's only so much you can do with words. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this little discussion, and I'll see you next time. Subscribe, yeah.